Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Mangoes and Whales. My name is Greg, and welcome back to another episode of the Average Player's Guide to Dark Matter, a series in which I provide some tips and advice on achieving the Dark Matter Camo in Black Ops 3 from the perspective of an average or casual player, much like me. This is episode 3, and this one is on the shotguns, and we're primarily going to be focusing on getting 5 kills in one life with each shotgun. And the clips that you're going to be watching are basically just that. You're watching 2 bloodthirsty streaks or equivalent streaks with each shotgun, starting with the KRM 262, moving on up to the 205 Brecci, the Haymaker 12, and then finally we're going to end with the Argus. I will talk a little bit about getting headshots with the 205 Brecci and the Haymaker 12 at the end of this video, but primarily we're going to be focusing on the bloodthirsties. So let's jump into that. So I recommend loading up on your perks for this challenge. It's a great time to do the 50 kills with no attachments that you also need for the shotguns. And the perks that I recommend using are Ghost, just a great way to not have to worry about the UAVs, much better than trying to run a launcher at the same time. Sixth Sense, when you're in the enemy spawn or on their side of the map, it's nice to kind of know where your enemies are before they turn the corner. So Sixth Sense can definitely help with that. Hardwired is always great to run. Just no sense in dying by trip mines and being affected by counter UAVs and that sort of thing. Tracker, if you are going to load up with all 6 perks, I think Tracker is nice to run. It can just kind of help if you lose an enemy around the corner. It's not as necessary, at least I didn't find it to be, but it is nice. For perk 3, I definitely think you should be using 2 perk 3s. Definitely want to be using Awareness. That makes this particular challenge a lot easier. It pairs nicely with Sixth Sense, and I definitely recommend getting a headset if you don't already have one. Just in general, playing Call of Duty with a headset is much more enjoyable than trying to use your TV speakers or whatever else you're using. So yeah, that's my recommendation there. And then for your other perk 3, it's kind of your choice. Dead Silence and Blast Suppressor are both beneficial at keeping you off the minimap. But also Tactical Mask is a good choice as well if you want to go that route with it. Alright, so I would describe the playstyle that you're going to want to be using as cautiously aggressive. And so what I mean by that is you definitely don't want to be camping it out for like all 5 kills. You can maybe get 1 or 2 doing some sort of simple camping, but your enemies will quickly figure out how to deal with you if you're camping super hard, and you don't want that. So you want to be taking them by surprise, catching them off guard, and dropping them quickly with your shotgun. So I don't recommend camping, but I also don't recommend just rushing, head on into the action without much of a game plan either. I would say kind of balance the two. Make it cautiously aggressive. You want to be moving around, but you want to be smart about it. So I recommend trying to do the submachine guns first before you attempt the shotguns. That will give you an idea of how to play Black Ops 3 with a closer range weapon without some of the more difficult aspects of using a very close range weapon like a shotgun or a pistol. So submachine guns will help kind of give you a little bit of map knowledge that you're going to need for this challenge. Moving on into that, map knowledge is really key in staying alive long enough to get 5 kills in one life with a shotgun. So you're going to want to know your escape routes. Basically, that just comes with time. Know how to get out of every single situation that you put yourself into. Know what the quickest and most efficient and the safest way to basically nope out of there if you find yourself at kind of a disadvantage. And know how you can flip it on an enemy if you kind of spot that you're in a situation you don't really like, and you can figure out quickly how to turn it into a situation that you do like. There's a great example of this right here, actually. These enemies know I'm in here. They just threw a trip mine at me. So I pretty much don't want to be camping in that corner where they expect me. So instead, I do a quick little flank maneuver, and I get behind both of them, and this turns into 2 easy kills for me, whereas I probably would have died had I just stayed in that room camping. I mean, there's a chance I would have gotten them both anyway, but definitely a lower chance. And it turned into a nice little bloodthirsty for me. So stuff like that is really helpful with the shotguns. If you just know your escape routes, know your quick flanks, and that'll help you out big time. Going back to the quick flank idea, especially with the shotguns, being able to quickly flank your enemies, just quickly ducking behind them is really important. Taking the long flank can be nice as well, but oftentimes you'll still end up at too long of a range engagement to really be effective with your shotgun. So if you can kind of quickly duck around your enemy and catch them off guard, that is a very important tactic. And there are a lot of options for playing that way in Black Ops 3 in the maps. So I definitely recommend getting familiar with those. Right here, actually, you're watching another topic I was going to bring up. Mini-map knowledge goes hand in hand with map knowledge. As you see, I'm waiting for that enemy, and he just comes right in, right where I expect him to. I knew it was going to come from that way, or I had a good idea, because I had no teammates over there. So what I mean by mini-map knowledge is basically being able to predict where your enemies are going to be based on where your teammates are not. That's a really good skill to have when you're playing Call of Duty, especially if you want to go on streaks. Because you don't always have a UAV, and it is helpful to be able to kind of predict where your enemies are going to be based on where your teammates are. Also, in terms of wandering through long lines of sight, you can definitely do that safely with shotguns. You just have to pick the right times. That is going to be helpful for navigating through the map so that you're not just camping. But you want to make sure that you have teammates that are covering those long lines of sight so that you can navigate through those areas in order to get to your next basically ideal shotgun spot. So right here is another example of mini-map awareness. I didn't want to push up too far here because I didn't have any teammates pushing with me, so I backed off a little bit, kind of let my teammates challenge us, and as you see, one of them just died, and this next guy up here who just pushed past me is going to die as well. So I know that I've got some enemies I'm going to need to deal with. So I don't want to just rush out there. I actually do end up getting a little lucky here. This guy was definitely not prepared to find me kind of hiding back there. But had I just pushed straight out and run into the action, it's likely that I would have died. So it was better that I hung back there. So moving on into the specialist recommendations, here's a good clip of me using glitch very effectively. For whatever reason, I decided to challenge this room with only 3 bullets in the magazine. Quickly realized that was a terrible idea, and I got the hell out of there as quickly as possible. It's a great use of glitch, so I recommend glitch. It's a good ability to use when you're using the shotguns, because you can easily get into a situation that's unfavorable, and glitch can just kind of get you out of there and give you another chance. So also effective are heat wave and kinetic armor. I think both of those could be really useful, and rejack as well. If you haven't seen my rejack tip video, you definitely want to check that one out. I'll leave a link. But yeah, so moving on into the Argus. Actually, this clip is going to start with the Annihilator. I ended up getting 5 kills with this Annihilator. I was really proud of myself for that. I have a hard time with the Annihilator, but aside from me, I end up going on a nice little streak with the Argus after this Annihilator streak. Aside from that, I chose this clip because I wanted to kind of showcase how similar the Annihilator is to the Argus. I do think they are kind of similar. They just sort of play out similarly. The Argus is a really unique weapon in Black Ops 3. It's not like any others. It's different from the other shotguns. You want to be aiming down sights more. I do feel like the closest thing to it is the Annihilator. So if you have some experience with the Annihilator pistol, but you haven't used the Argus before, that experience with the Annihilator is definitely going to help you out when you're working on the Argus. So yeah, that's just the point that I wanted to bring up right there real quickly. But I think that mostly covers it for the Bloodthirsties. We're going to watch one more Argus Bloodthirsty on, I think, Havoc is the next one. But let's talk a little bit about the headshots that you need to get with the 205 Brecci and the Haymaker 12. So what you're going to want to be doing for this is throwing on the laser sight attachment and just hip fire. Don't even worry about aiming down sight. Just hip fire. You're going to want to aim slightly above your opponent's heads. Try and point the laser right above their heads, and that'll end up getting you a lot of headshots. You may end up dying a couple times because you might miss them. Too many of your pellets might go right over their head, but you will get your headshots quickly if you just keep doing that. You'll see it won't take too long. It is going to take a little bit longer than the KRM and the Argus, which only need one-shot kills. Those go by really quickly. But yeah, like I said, laser sight, hip fire, aim above the head, play really aggressively. Don't worry about playing cautiously aggressively. Just play really aggressively. Get right up close to your enemies. Try and get as close as possible. This will allow the, basically, it makes the head a bigger target, and you want to make that head as big a target as you possibly can. More chance that more pellets will go into the head. And also, if your enemies are shooting at you, the flinch can often can kind of raise your aim up to the head if you happen to be aiming a little bit below, and that can also improve your chances of getting a headshot. And that's actually a really good tip for the submachine guns as well, how to get more headshots with the submachine guns. I didn't mention that in the submachine gun video, so I thought I'd mention it here. This last little clip is an example of me hit marking an AFK guy with the Argus, even though I'm aiming down sight, and I just threw it in here. It was like right after that bloodthirsty, so it was convenient, but just wanted to point out that every once in a while weird stuff like that will happen with the Argus, so just be aware of that. It is pretty annoying, but oh well. What are you gonna do? So all right, so that pretty much wraps it up right here. I'll be getting my diamond unlock right here on this guy. The next video is gonna be on the snipers. We're gonna jump into the snipers. We're starting with the Drakon and the PO6, and we're gonna be focusing on bloodthirsties. I will do the Locust and the SVG, the bolt action snipers, in the video after. So breaking the snipers up into 2 videos. Next one on the Locust, or next one on the Drakon and the PO6. So I'll see you in that one. Have a great rest of your day.